Welcome. I'm going to do a several parts, but a video series on how to build your own trading strategy. I noticed that all the videos I do, it's great to have that interaction with people and to read all the comments and get all the questions also through Instagram. But I think it is good to go through this from the beginning, and I think I will. I will teach others the most at the part of the when it comes to technical analysis, and then the transition of picking a trade and having a well set up risk reward or risk management system. That's the most part. But to explain that, we have to start from the beginning. So how to trade a strategy. It's not hard. It's not hard at all, but it can help you to stop system hopping and using other people's strategies, and then it works for 2 weeks, and then it's quite obvious markets change, and then the strategy doesn't work, so people throw away the strategy and get back into the whole a different way or a different strategy, and then it works for a couple of weeks and the cycle continues. So of course, use systems, strategies, and things and principles that we know. And also, maybe that sounds strange in the beginning, but it has to fit your personality. I'll get back to that in a later video, but it's quite, it's quite logical if you come to think about it. Okay, so this is part one. Picking a market. So what markets do you want to trade? There are different markets. I hope you know by now. I personally came into the trading business, and I was trading mainly forex at the time. So the currencies over here was the thing I started with, and of course I traded the majors, like the euro dollar, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and all those pairs. And over time I switched to the minors, and then I went to stocks, and I discovered a lot that's out there. So that's for the forex. That's where my adventure started. Of course, the major indices give a great view, a great picture of what's out there and how markets are doing. It's the overall economical picture that we are seeing, and even this year in 2019, when market kind of a market top was getting in place, we are still moving higher. So just buying the Nasdaq from an ultimate low after an economic crisis and then just letting it ride could be a very profitable trading strategy on its own. So there's 100 ways a million ways to trade the financial markets. Another thing are commodities. I get a lot of questions about oil, crude oil, or for example silver or gold, so the metals. And just recently someone asked me about corn and wheat and all those things. So commodities in different ways is also something you could be looking at. And the newest to them all, there are also bonds and options and things to be trading. But the newest addition to the family are of course the cryptocurrencies. Crypto has been very popular, of course, because of the huge rally Bitcoin had, and everybody jumped in, and sometimes it's annoying to see that people actually made money and share that with the world, because for that reason you kind of get the feeling that you just have to jump in that Bitcoin adventure and you'll get rich. But it's not what trading is. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you pick over here. Also cryptocurrencies, markets move in a certain way, and that is where you should be. You should find your profitability. So let me switch for a minute to a website I often use. So if you want to get more information on these things, you can use that as well. This website is called Investingcom. And you have lots of information, also news information, education, of course, all kinds of tools. You can set alerts in here. You can get notified when earnings start and what earnings will come out the next day, etc., etc. But that's more the practical use. I use this for a couple of reasons. If you want to get into trading and you are looking for what kind of markets there are, this is a great way to start. Make sure you let's say the currencies, for example, All kinds of currencies are in here. Just check out what's out there, and you know, get a feeling of things. Every market has its own characteristics. For example, the currencies, they have interest rates and all those things. You can see it here. The kind of information that's offered. But stocks, they have earnings, so once 4 times a year earnings come in, and that will move a certain stock, and most of the time it will move the indices as well. So yes, if you want to start with trading, go through these and try to identify what suits you, or whatever. Commodities as well, of course, crop reports or inventory reports. How much oil is there? How much corn was there, came out, etc., etc. So make sure you read those things. Also, from an educational perspective, some webinars, the economic calendar, that's something I use a lot. Those are economic events that will take place within. Well, you can select it for a couple of ways. Maybe this week. So let's see what's out there. I selected the 3 bulls, which is you know, some kind of impact news. It depends on the time frame you trade. If you trade a daily, then this is not really that much of an impact, but these are definitely news events you want to keep an eye on when you go down to the lower time frames. So it just gives you a clear view on things that will economically will come out this week, and that will move the market. So also depending, this is all of course some currency related things, but we have up here economic calendar. Yes, that's where we were just in a second. And you also have the earnings calendar. That's actually what I wanted to show you as well. And the earnings calendar is same thing. If you want to know what's going on this week when it comes to earnings. I don't know if earnings season is really on. Yeah, it's still on. So this is what's happening this week. So if you are trading HP, for example, make sure you know that earnings will come out this week, and that will result into oh, this was an ad. Will result into to market movement. So just make sure you understand what is going on with all these news related things, and it's also from educational perspective pretty good. Now let's go back to the presentation. Now, things you should consider when you start trading, or when you're reevaluating your whole trading thing. Just like I showed you, you have to know and you have to understand what moves this market, and then with this market I mean the market you are going to choose. For example, interest rates, GDP numbers, the NFP, all kinds of things that will move currency pairs. Make sure you know what data comes out this week or this day, which will move the currency market. Because if you don't understand that, and then it's you can get into losses that are unnecessary. What's the best time to trade this market? For example, if you trade the euro against the dollar, then probably the best trading hours are during the European session and during the US session. If you want to trade, for example, Australia against Japanese yen, that will of course be something that is more active around the Asian session than European and American session. So make sure you know what time you trade. If you trade stocks, for example, make sure that you understand that stocks do not trade 24/7. Stocks in the European market are traded and active during the European session. So I remember when I shifted a little bit away from the currencies, that the whole 24-hour thing was kind of relaxing to me, because I knew I'm gonna make a move into the Nasdaq. I know what time the market opens, and I know what time it closes. Also, when it opens, there's a lot of volatility. So depending on the strategy, I know when to get in. Yeah, maybe unnecessary, but thing you should ask is, am I awake at that moment? If you're from Europe and you're gonna specialize in Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, all the time you're trading, it's not the ideal time to be trading that currency pair. So make sure you are awake. And another thing goes for stocks, or if you're trading the Nikkei indices. If you do not, if you're asleep at that time, then I would pick a US or a European indices or stock. Okay, is this market trending? You have to. This is a little bit of a step into the whole technical analysis thing, but yes, you have to identify what is this market doing. Is it a strongly trending market, or is it consolidating, or whatever it is? You have to understand that the market you pick for a reason. Because if you want to be trend or swing trading, of course you want to get into really trending markets, and that is where you find your edge and will be successful. So make sure you can identify it and that you actually do. So there has to be a reason for picking a market. How are current market conditions? That's something else indeed. If we are in a bearish market, things can go pretty fast. Markets tend to drop way harder than they move up. A saying is, when markets go up, they take the stairs, and when they go down, they jump out of the window. So yeah, make sure you understand what the market conditions are. Or flat markets could be perfect for range trading, but if you are waiting for that swing trade or you're waiting for that trend trade, it's never going to come. So make sure you understand that as well. When do numbers come out for this market? Well, I just showed you the website. Make sure you understand. If you decide to trade crude oil, for example, make sure you know when inventories come out, and volatility will be high. Could be a reason to stay away that moment and just be trading it actively the day after, when everything comes down again. Who is trading this market? And the who to me is like everybody who jumped into the cryptocurrency adventure is a different person most of the time, trading a different market, because of a lot of new traders are in that currency market, and all the spikes I'm seeing on those charts is really just a reflection of all the amateurs that are active. And if you want a clear chart with clear price action, the Nasdaq, for example, or the euro dollar is way better to pick a market where more professionals are present. What markets are in correlation with this market? Also, yeah, something to consider. So, are all metals, for example, gold, silver, and copper, are they some way related, or is it like if the dollar index goes up, will the stocks go down, or vice versa? Or, I'm not saying it is, but there are correlations in the market which are interesting for you to be keeping an eye out, because if you think oil is really starting the trend and there is a correlation with something that is also trending, or will, for example, oil stocks, or something that will go down because of who knows, maybe natural gas reacts to a different energy commodity. Well, that you get my point. And how are overall market conditions affecting this market? So if you're in the stock market and the overall market conditions, think about the indices, they go down, oftentimes it affects the trending phase of that particular stock as well. But sometimes it doesn't. So make sure you understand what your instrument is doing. Okay, well, thanks for watching the first part. Tomorrow I will give you the second part, and it is all about the time frames you will pick for your strategy. So thanks for watching.